Hey guys, welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play, episode 16, season 2, MoonQuest edition. I'm Enigmius. Today we're thinking about air, because we're going to the moon, and we have to be able to breathe. Now, we found ourselves in a situation where we needed a lot of materials. One of our viewers pointed out very aptly that you will be blown away by how much coal you will need, because we have to make a lot of steel. So for basically every ingot of steel, we need 2 pieces of coal. One to make the enriched dust. Over here, you see, we've got the machine grinding away. The enriched iron is using 1 piece of coal for each one of those. And then we have to make the steel dust, which is another piece of coal for each one of these to make the steel dust, which we then put into a smelter and take out steel. That's step 1, is get more coal than you think you're going to need, and then get twice as much again, and you might be close. That's the rule. I went down and I did a bunch of mining, but I mined too deep to find coal quickly and easily. It actually made a lot more sense for me to fly around, because we've got this mountainous area, and just grab coal from the side of the mountains. It was quicker and easier, and I got almost 3.5 stacks of coal in the time it would have taken me to get 1 stack just mining down in our mine shaft. As far as the other materials, iron is becoming kind of an issue. We're going through a tremendous amount of iron because of all the steel that we need to turn into, this. I don't even have any in there. Into steel plates. Now, the process for actually making the shenanigans is pretty straightforward. We've got the machines here that are responsible for gathering the oxygen. You can see this is working. It's got those little blue sparkles going into the machine. It's powered from down below. You can see we've got the wire reaching up. This is starting to look more and more like an industrial area with pipes and wires, and the wires that it's connected to the cube, but it's not connected to the cube, if you catch my meaning. So we're getting power. This is our oxygen collector. It basically just collects oxygen. It uses the electrical power that we generate and collects oxygen, and then we send that oxygen through an oxygen pipe into the oxygen compressor, which then compresses that oxygen into oxygen tanks. And the oxygen tanks are what you carry around that supply you with oxygen while you're on the moon or wherever you happen to need oxygen. Now, I happen to also have made the larger of the oxygen tanks because we can. They hold 3 times as much as the small tanks, which happen to be right here. A full small, the light oxygen tank is 900 units of oxygen, the medium is 1800, and the heavy, which we have, is 2700. So I figured we might as well. The nice thing about this is if you want to know how to make this stuff, all you have to do is type Oxy into the NEI search bar, and it comes up with all the components that you will need to make all of the things. So for example, we need the oxygen collector, which requires 3 compressed steel, 2 compressed aluminum, the oxygen vent, the tin canister, the oxygen fan, and the oxygen concentrator. Not a particularly complicated recipe, but already you're starting to see lots of the compressed plates, right? Not just steel, but also aluminum and tin. So for each one of these oxygen vents, we need 3 compressed tin and a compressed steel. And then we go back up to oxygen collector. The tin canisters, really straightforward, 7 tin ingots, just like the copper canisters we were using the other day. The oxygen fan is more compressed steel, piece of redstone, and a basic wafer. This is one of the wafers that we make with our circuit fabricator. That's the machine that we have downstairs. For those who maybe missed that episode or who aren't sure, is it this one? Yes, this is the circuit fabricator. You put a diamond here, you put is it a redstone torch here, and then I think a piece of redstone and 2. Let's find out, instead of being a derp about it. There we go. Yeah, piece of redstone, a redstone torch, 2 raw silicone, and a diamond into the circuit fabricator. Provide it with energy, and it will make 3 of those basic wafers that we then use in the oxygen fan. And they're good to have around. A basic wafer, just because it makes 3 and you only use 1 for 1 oxygen fan, there's other things that use them. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have around. Oxygen collector. And the oxygen concentrator, which is another tin canister, another oxygen vent, compressed tin, and compressed steel. So they're not complicated recipes. It's only, I think, 3 recipes deep to get. Yeah, because you have the first recipe is the thing to make all these. You make an oxygen concentrator, you make a fan, you make a vent, you make the tin canister, and then you combine them all into the oxygen collector. Very straightforward. And then you have the oxygen compressor. The decompressor, I'm assuming that would be for if you were on the moon, you could put an oxygen tank in it and it would release the oxygen into the air, or into the atmosphere. And if you were in an enclosed space, it would help make that air breathable, provided you had it sealed properly. So, but when we're in the overworld just getting ready to go up to the moon, we need the oxygen compressor. And this one's even easier than the collector. It's another oxygen concentrator, which is the canister, the plates, the vent, compressor, and more plates. Aluminum, compressed steel, and compressed bronze. So we're using all kinds of different metals to make the machines. And then lastly, for the setup that we're looking at right now, oxygen pipe, super simple, glass panes, right? I mean, this is actually vanilla recipes here to make glass into glass panes. And you take those glass panes, 3 top, 3 bottom, gives you 4 oxygen pipes. I would suspect, depending on how you like to do your setups, you're going to need more than 4, but it's not an expensive recipe. And that kind of puts us in a situation where we can gather and compress the oxygen. Now, we need to store it, which is nothing special. The recipe for these guys is 3 tin canisters. We looked at that. They're the 7 guys in the canister formation. 3 compressed steel and 3 red wool. Very specifically, it has to be red wool. I had to go out on a mission to find red flowers. And that makes 1 heavy oxygen tank. And then we also need, once we have the tank, we put the oxygen in the tank. We need a way to get the oxygen from the tank into our face. So we have oxygen gear, which is another one of these oxygen concentrators. This is the 3rd one that we'd have had to make with the canister, the vent, the compressed tin and steel. This one is what we're looking for. And 5 oxygen pipes makes this oxygen gear. And you may wish to make one of these. Now, I'll explain why in a second. This is the oxygen mask. It's like the headgear that goes on your head. You need an iron helmet and 8 glass panes. Again, really cheap, not complicated at all. And then, if we get out of here, if you click on here, this square icon that looks exactly like the oxygen mask, you get the UI for your breathing apparatus. Now you've got also a parachute. I saw there was a spot for a parachute, so I made a parachute. I don't know if it will ever save my life, but at least I can't say, geez, I wish I had a parachute when that happened. I've got an oxygen mask here, and I've got the oxygen gear, and then I've got 2 spots for oxygen tanks, so I can have 2 oxygen tanks equipped at the same time. I don't even know what this is for. It looks like it's a strange helicopter helmet of some sort. I don't know. I'll find out before we do anything silly like go to the moon not knowing what it's for. But I'm wearing the oxygen mask, and you can actually see it kind of superimposed over my modular power suit's helmet. The reason why I put it on is because I've actually got a module with the power suit that seems similar. It looks like it might actually replace this, but I don't want to take the chance, and more importantly, modular power suits is one of those mods that I added onto the mod pack, so if you don't have it, there's no point in me skipping this step and not explaining it, and then having you show up to the moon without one of these and dying, because you took my word for things, because first of all, I wouldn't recommend that, but also, that would just be silly of me. So, realistically speaking, in terms of collecting the oxygen, storing it, and then releasing it in a useful form so that we can breathe on the moon, we're mostly done. Now, one of the kind of things that's got me thinking that I want to put a little more thought into this whole process is, I left one here. So I've got one of these guys here. I've got another one full upstairs. So that's 2. I would like to make 2 more at least, so that I've got the pair that I'm wearing and then also a pair that's refilling at any given time. That just makes sense to me, rather than always just messing about passing one and back and forth, only having one equipped while the other one's refilling and stuff like that. That to me is just silly. Just make 4, get her done, everybody's happy. So we're gonna have plenty of oxygen. Refilling is very slow. It takes quite a while to fill one of these tanks. Like, we're not talking days, but certainly it's not something you just blop in and then 2 seconds later it's full. It takes a while. So I'm kind of thinking that we're going to need more compressors. But more importantly, I have to think about what's happening on the moon. What happens when we need more oxygen on the moon? Do we have to come back to the overworld and refill it, or are we going to get ourselves set up with all the plants and things that are going to produce oxygen and do the gathering and the compressing there to refill our stuff? So we're going to have to make more of these machines. Now, like we looked at, it's not necessarily expensive, but making all the plates, aside from the coal and the iron, it takes a while. So do we want to run more machines to make the plates faster? Personally, I don't. But I do need to be very mindful that what I thought was going to be something that I could make with materials I had on hand is not at all the case. It's going to take me a lot more. What is oxygen bubble distributor? So I guess that would be a part of the on the moon, let's make a base and fill it with oxygen so we can take out the tanks while we're there set up. So that's going to be a whole other episode. It's taking a look at the oxygen system for the moon and having an oxygenated atmosphere within a base so that we don't have to worry about the tanks when we're fiddling around doing whatever we need to do in our base on the moon. I'm going to start stockpiling materials for that now. I'm very disappointed with my damn airship for not being nice at all. It's maiden voyage, just like all my other airships. The very first time I dock and basically stop and get off the airship, it shears itself apart again. You can see right there, that line across there. That row there should be lined up with this part here. And it looks like it actually just did this quarter. It's almost like it flipped it. And the really obnoxious thing was, when it sheared, fortunately I barely caught a foot on the edge of it, but it left a gap in the glass directly below where you stand when you're piloting the damn ship. So I had to put a piece of cobblestone there, just so that I wouldn't fall out of the ship when I was flying around gathering coal in and amongst the mountains and clouds over there. So that's really all I've been up to, is mining a lot for iron mostly, but pretty much anything that I came across, and coal, and then getting all these machines sorted out. Look at this guy. He's like camouflaged with the water. He's like a Navy SEAL creeper, except no Navy SEAL would let someone do that to them. Come on. So it's not a very long episode this time, but I kind of wanted to keep this one really simple because the oxygen apparatus that you take to the moon is critical to survival. You will die without it, and if we tried to gloss it over or fill out the episode with a bunch of extra crap, that might not go over so well. So there we have it. Really simple. Oxygen collector, oxygen compressor, powered, connected with oxygen pipe, filling oxygen tanks that we will equip in our oxygen apparatus with our oxygen gear and our oxygen mask. Also look into a parachute, and we will find out what this is, and if it's important, we will have it before we go to the moon. So the next episode, we're going to look at all the other things that we need to think about bringing with us to the moon. For example, plants and water and seeds and whatever we're going to plant in order to create oxygen there so that we can refill our tanks and eventually oxygenate our base. All the machines that we're going to need to bring to the moon, our collectors, our compressors, maybe some decompressors, maybe some bubble stuff, detectors, sealers, storage modules, whatever it takes. I wonder if this, well, let's actually... So I don't know if this is going to help a damn thing. I just saw oxygen storage module and thought, hey, maybe that would speed up the whole process of refilling the tanks. But it's not compressed oxygen that's being stored. It's just normal oxygen. So maybe if we had multiple oxygen compressors, because only uses 20 per second. I don't know. We'll figure something out. That's how easily I get distracted. So there's other machines that we're going to be looking at, the oxygen detector and things like that, which I would imagine is sort of a safety thing in case you're on the moon and there's no oxygen and you think there is, and then you have something to look at your dying breath or not breath, and you realize, yeah, I was suffocating and that's why I'm dead. So that's where we are. Like I say, next episode, we're going to be looking at a checklist of materials that we want to bring with us to the moon to help us survive and get established there. And then all we have left to do after that is build the rocket and get to the moon. So please, by all means, leave your comments and feedback. If you want to be notified when I add the next video, you can always subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at Enigmius1 or on Google++ Enigmius1. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.